everyone to the House of More Politics. Over the last 2 weeks, we've been watching on the news the delegate count and the process and what does that mean. And there's been a lot of controversy, especially when Ted Cruz won Wyoming or Colorado, and how that process went, and how someone put out on Twitter, we did it, never Trump, but then they say that their Twitter account was hacked. You know, go figure, right? So I just want to give a breakdown, a simple breakdown, not a more elaborate breakdown that I've been seeing on the news, but a simple breakdown on what happened and what does it all mean, and hopefully I can get you guys to understand or be better informed on whether or not your vote is really counting or not. So let's just take a look at what happened with Donald Trump.
Trump's Colorado nightmare began March 1st when Republicans chose delegates to county assemblies and district conventions. There, new delegates were elected for congressional district assemblies and the state convention. On April 2nd, Colorado's 1st and 6th congressional districts each awarded their 3 delegates to Cruz. The 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th congressional districts followed suit late last week.
We have a slate of delegates. It is led by our state chairman.
Then came Saturday's state convention, where Cruz snatched up the remaining 13 delegates.
Okay, so apparently the Republicans decided against having a caucus or a primary and just went straight to the delegate selections. And they did that because of what happened in 2012 with Rand Paul. And they changed the rules. So to be fair across the national party, everybody should have bound delegates. Well, Colorado was one of those states that decided that they didn't want to bind their delegates. So they decided to go for this method. It was kind of like a caveat in the rules where they cannot do that. So you ask yourself, was the people of Colorado represented? In a way, yes, and in a way, no. In a way, because they chose those delegates. The Republican affiliated people in Colorado chose those delegates. Those delegates thereby chose other delegates to represent themselves, to represent those people at the convention. The problem is there was no direct line from the vote to the from the vote to the nominee. So it's kind of like a gray area, and I'll get into the Democrats in a minute. But it was kind of like, like I said, the delegates were chosen from people who were elected by the people, but those people, with the help from Ted Cruz campaign, they all rallied to get Ted Cruz supporters the delegate count, or made them delegates, and those delegates thereby voted for Ted Cruz. So that's why Donald Trump is crying foul. Now take a look at this video and see that Donald Trump kind of knew what was going to happen. Take a look at this.
Oh, we understand the rules, and we understood them so well that it didn't make sense to be here.
So I would say Trump knew what was going to happen. And I would say this. I read a report. Now, I really don't want to believe it, but I watched a video that someone said that Donald Trump really doesn't want to be president. Whatever game he's playing, he's just playing it. So now he started, and I guess he felt like he didn't know if he would make it this far. So he never had a ground game. It was just him going out. And I would tell you this, I don't think he really understood the delegate process, which is why he never really had a ground game, and which is why he's crying foul on some of these races, because he thought that, okay, popular count wins the delegates. Well, that's not necessarily true in all states. Florida being one, Ohio being one, if you get a certain percentage of the vote, you get all 99 delegates or all 60-some delegates or whatever. But I don't think Trump, now, I don't know if that report is true or not, but hey, there's been reports about him not really wanting to be president. But I mean, as long as he can keep going, he's going to keep going. I mean, why stop? So, but his consultant just told you, they knew the rules. It was just too complicated for Trump to try to put together. And of course, he's using his own money, being a smart businessman. He said, you know what? I'm not. Yeah, let's just get out of here. So that's why he did what he did. Now, when he did find out the rules and tried to fix what he didn't know, take a look at what happened, and this is another reason why he's crying foul, but he's not going to admit to this mistake.
Sources said Trump's original Colorado director was fired, a successor installed just days before the convention. The chaos was reflected in Trump's slate of delegates, which included at least 4 people who had not pledged for the frontrunner, and contained at least 7 typographical errors, including one that steered voters to cast their ballots for a Cruz delegate. One Trump consultant suggested the campaign all but skipped Colorado.
Okay, so here we go. Now, you want to get, by choosing these delegates, that's why you got to have a good ground game. Because when they go out, you want to get people that know the process, that know the rules, and that are strong you supporter, like strong Clinton supporter, strong Trump supporter, strong Cruz supporter. Get your campaign ground game in there to get that person on the ballot as a delegate, and then get that person all the way through the conventions so that person can become a legitimate delegate and vote for you, which is what Ted Cruz did, which is what all the campaigns were doing to get their people, especially now being that Cruz and Trump are close and they're not sure who is going to get the nomination, so they're not going to get the 1,237 votes, delegates that they need. So the first ballot, of course, let's just say Trump has 1,236 delegates, not 1,237, 1,236, and Trump and what Cruz has less than that. So the first ballot, they're going to vote, and if Trump doesn't get 1,237 on the first ballot, then the convention is open and anybody can vote. Now the problem with Trump was he got his delegates, but some of those people that are bound delegates do not support Trump, but they had no choice because they're bound delegates. So they have to support him on that first ballot. After that first ballot, they can go any way they want to go. That was Trump's problem. Trump didn't really understand the rules as far as getting people that were staunch supporters of him to become delegates and to say they're going to vote for him first, second, third, whatever many ballots. Now, these are the rules. Now I would say this. Is it right? Should we be bound by delegates, or should it go by popular vote? Now, by having these delegates, it kind of puts the selection process in the hands of the Republican Party. And the same thing with the Democrats. I was listening to Herman Cain, and Herman Cain's show radio. All he talks about is how the Democrats and their superdelegates are crooked and wrong, and how the Republicans are there's some way to finagle the vote. Well, they're both operating pretty much under the same principles. Let's talk about Democrats for a second. The Democrats, they have so many delegates, but the problem is, for Clinton in 2008 and for Sanders now, is that each state, there is no winner take all state in the Democrat side. They're all proportional. So Barack beat Hillary because he had a good ground game, and he knew that, hey, I can't win the whole state, but I can win the delegates. Instead of winning, for instance, instead of winning all of Georgia, because I probably won't win all of Georgia, but I know I'll win Atlanta. I know I'll win Columbus. I know I'll win Decatur. You know what I'm saying? He'll win these different counties and different cities, and that way he'll get more delegates. Clinton probably didn't understand that. Well, she probably understood how delegates are amassed, but she probably didn't have a good ground game, and because Barack was just a phenom from out of nowhere, he won a lot of those pockets. And that way, even though she would win the state, he got the most delegates. She's doing the same thing to Bernie Sanders now. Bernie Sanders won Wyoming. Hillary Clinton got 11 delegates and he got 7. Why did she get 11 and he got 7? Because she won the more heavily populated cities and he won the more urban areas. She's playing that delegate game. But with her, now the difference between Barack and Sanders is Barack did not win the popular vote. Hillary won the popular vote. Barack won the delegate count. And of course, we go by delegates. Now, the super delegates are there to sway back and forth. They're pretty much like tiebreakers, but if they can choose whom they want to support and not go with the will of the people. And Hillary Clinton was saying, hey, I won the popular vote. That's the will of the people. Well, they still stuck with Barack. Now the problem with Bernie Sanders is she's winning the popular vote and the delegate count. So there's no way he's going to catch up. Now, again, and I would tell you this. The last time around with Hillary and Barack did not have the 2,380 something delegates that he needed at the convention. He didn't. He had the super delegates, but he didn't have the majority. So they went to the convention and he won. I mean, he was going to win it, but he didn't have the bound delegates. He didn't have enough. His super delegates put him over the top. Now, Bernie Sanders people are crying foul because the delegates in the Republican Party are saying, hey, this is rigged because they've already selected Hillary Clinton. Well, she's winning the popular vote anyway. So now you see, you understand what I'm saying? It's Bernie Sanders can't cry foul on this because he knew the rules and he knew what he was getting to when he did it. Now, again, is this right? Because neither one will have the 2,000 delegates that they need at the convention. It goes back into the hands of the Democrat Party. Now, is that right? Because the Democrats and the super delegates are elected officials, elected governors, senators, congressmen. Those are the and they were elected by the people, right? Because they're congressmen, they're senators, so they were elected and they chose to side with Hillary. Is that right? Is any of this right? Whether the Democrats or the Republicans, is any of this right? Should it go by popular vote? I honestly believe it should. It should go by popular vote. We should not have a delegate process at all on the Democrat side or the Republican side because it's confusing. The people don't understand. And a lot of people are quitting. I got a video. I'm not going to put it on here, but I got a video of a guy burning his registration card, Republican registration card, because he was a Trump supporter and he couldn't be a delegate. So he said, you know what? Because I'm not being represented fairly, I quit. I will no longer be a Republican. I'm going to register as an independent. So the people's voices are not being heard. And now you can argue that the people's voices are being heard because these elected officials are elected by the people. If that's the case, then why, when that delegate gets there, they vote for other people to become delegates, and those delegates vote for whoever they want to vote for, whether or not Clinton or Trump or whoever won the popular vote? That's not right. And Bernie Sanders can't cry foul because he's losing the popular vote and the delegate count. So, but should we have delegates? No, we shouldn't. We really shouldn't. This should go by popular vote. It really should. What do you think? I hope I explained that. I mean, that's just a low down, dirty, quick version of the delegate count. Now, each state has their own different rules. It's just that why Colorado chose to go this route, and it's been in the news for the last 2 weeks. So I hope I explained it a little bit better for you guys. I hope you understand the process. Take a look at what's going on in the news because, like I told you, it's getting hot. And Bernie Sanders is pissed. You should have saw what he did Friday. He left his state he left his state people. Nobody knew where he was. He went back to Vermont or wherever the hell he's from and just ignored a lot of people. And now he hadn't been in the news in a couple of days because he's pissed that he lost New York. Even though, and New Yorkers aren't stupid. He was born and raised in Brooklyn, right? That's great. He's a New Yorker, born and raised. Clinton is a carpetbagger. She came up there and she set up home. She's really from Chicago. She spent 18 years down in Arkansas as first lady when Clinton was governor. And when she left the White House as first lady, she made her home. They made their home in New York. And she served the people for 8 years because she got elected twice, but she only served 1 full term and 2 years of the second term. So she's an implant in New York, but they love her. She loved them. Bernie Sanders was born in New York, but he left to go to Vermont to run for governor, senator, well, the Congress, and then the Senate. And he's been there for over 30 plus years. So you can't come back and say, oh, this is home, because no, you left. It's not your home. Clinton came there and made it her home. You left. You are from Vermont. So don't try to take over New York and say it's yours when you left. It's not yours. So am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know. Let me know. Give me some feedback, some thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, watch the news, keep watching this station, and I can't wait to give out another video, guys. Till next time. Peace.